What's the latest movie you've done?
I just did a horror film called Hell House, and I'm thinking of producing a movie. I'm going to do a new take on vampire movies because, you know, with Twilight and all that being so popular, I mean, since they've decided to do homosexual vampires, I've decided to do vampires that were all midgets, and I'm going to call it ankle biters.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you done any production on your own yet?
Nothing major. But I want to start doing some documentaries and things like that.
What kind of subjects?
There's a young team of basketball performers, not basketball players, and basketball performers called the Anchorage Alexandria Aces from Alexandria, Minnesota, and they're school children from grade 2 to 4, and they perform around the country in halftime games, NBA, college, things like that. They're like the Harlem Globetrotters type thing. Just shorter and younger, and not all of them black.
What made you get into pro wrestling to begin with?
I love the wrestling business, and I decided that was what I wanted to do when I was about 14, and I tried for numerous years to get into wrestling, and when I was 18 I was finally able to do it. At that time it was harder to be a made man in the mafia than it was to get in the wrestling business. It was very protected. Not just anybody could get in it, but just by persistence and just keep plugging at it. I finally was able to convince somebody to take responsibility for me and train me.
Is there anything else people should know?
Oh, there's lots of stuff people should know.
About Al Snow.
I mean, I could go down a list of stuff that people should know. But, you know, apparently people have suddenly forgotten because, of course, the world circles around all of you. And wherever you go, you are the most important thing in that universe. Nothing else around you is important but you.
What was your least favorite gimmick that you've done throughout the years?
You know, at the time there would be gimmicks and things that I wouldn't enjoy because I just was short-sighted and I didn't view them as what they really were, which was an opportunity. But then looking back, I mean, and people coming up unprovoked or unprompted, coming up and saying, "Oh, I remember that. I remember this. And God, I really enjoyed that." And I realized, wow, to them it wasn't a big deal. I mean, to them it was something they really enjoyed. They were entertained. So, you know,
like Avatar.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I could have taken more advantage of it, and if I had done the right business when I had that gimmick, you know, who knows where it could have went. But when I stepped through the ropes, that was my opportunity. That was my responsibility to do what it was that I had to do. If I don't deliver, that's not the gimmick's fault. It's not Vince's fault. It's not Jim Crockett's fault. It's not any number of Ed Farhat's fault. It wasn't Dick the Bruiser's fault. It wasn't Ron Gagne's fault. It was mine. You know, it was not that somebody held me down or gave me a crappy gimmick. It was that I was given it a gimmick to give it an opportunity, and if I didn't make the most of it, hey, who am I going to blame? You know? So, you know, I can make excuses, point the finger, which I used to do a lot. But bottom line is, at the end of the day, when you step through the ropes, you don't deliver. That's you, nobody else. You know, when you go through there, nobody can help you, and nobody can do anything to now hurt you either. Nobody can do anything to hinder you. They can make it harder, but you can still figure out ways to do what it is you need to do. I didn't do that.
Now, you were in WCW too, right?
I was in WCW, never on a full-time schedule, like with, you know, on TV or whatever. I came in and worked house shows and things like that.
What would you say the differences are between the big organizations you were in?
You know, really just different philosophies, different style or approach to you know, what they felt worked, and then, you know, but it was still, at the end of the day, every company, every promoter, all around, at the end of the day, it was about how many people can we put in the building, and then how many more people can we put in the building, and then once we get those many people in the building, how many more people can we put in the building. It was always a constant. What can we do now to get even more people? What can we do to get it even hotter? What can we do now to get more people talking about it? What can we do now if we've sold out the entire city of Geneva, New York? What can we do now to get people to drive from other cities surrounding Geneva to come to Geneva? What can we do now to get to the point to where we can't run Geneva anymore because so many people are driving in? We're going to now go to Buffalo and run the building there. It's always trying to build, always trying to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Always trying to put more people in the building so that you can run a bigger building so you can put more people in it so you can just constantly do that.
If you could change anything about the wrestling business today, what would it be?
If I could change anything about the wrestling business, I think make it harder to get in, make guys responsible for who they break in. That needs to go back that way. I think that it'd be nice I wish that there were, and it's just not possible, but I wish that there were a lot of older generation wrestlers still in the locker room that were there when I came into the business, and not older generation wrestlers by 5 or 6 years or 10 years that have just wrestled on and I'm not saying this to slight anybody, but wrestled on a part-time basis. I mean guys that's what they did for a living. They didn't paint a house and then wrestle. They didn't work at the steel mill and wrestle. They wrestled. That was it. That's all they did to feed their family. That's all they did to pay the rent. That's all they did to put clothes on their back, food on the table. Yeah, I know. I agree. And when you had those people there, they helped steer the next generation to understand what was important, where the priorities were, things like that. And now what's steering the next generation are not guys who have genuine, relatable experience to what the real priorities are. It's now guys that are outside of the wrestling business, have never really done it for a living, and are actually just simply critics of the business that now attempt to direct the business and successfully do direct the business via their opinions without ever actually having to, well, geez, if tomorrow night there aren't this X many people, well, I'm not going to be able to make the money. If tomorrow night, if I don't do what I need to do tonight, well, I'm probably not going to get booked next week. It kind of gives you a complete different relationship with what goes on and why it goes on than just being able to sit on the outside and go, this match sucked and I didn't like what he did and I didn't like the leg drop, it was so sloppy and he should have performed a better hammerlock, and this one was 5 stars, it really enraptured me. And you're entitled to your opinion. I say feel free to make it as much as you want. You paid your money to watch the performance, and by all means you can say it was good or bad depending upon your opinion, but unless you have an actual true, and those critics will say, well, I don't have to step in the ring to know about wrestling, and you're right, you don't have to do something to necessarily know it, but the older I've gotten, the better I've understood, and I tell this to my son all the time and my daughter, and this is, they're both very intelligent, sophisticated children. My daughter's 21, my son's 20, and when I have a conversation with my son, and he goes, well, what do you know? And I'm like, well, you're right, what do I know? Because I don't know everything. There's a big difference between my son and I. My son's 20. I've been 21, 22, 23, and 24. Guess what he has not yet been? None of those things. So do you think just because of the fact that I've already been 22, 23, and 24, maybe I have a slight edge on him? The same goes for this.